What's up, guys? It's David again. Welcome to All Up in the Mix. Last episode, we talked about setting up a beat mix from scratch, and today we're going to go over compression and EQ, or the basics of it. Let's go. So we're going to use the same beat that we left off using, and I'm going to show you some of the basic compression and EQ techniques that I would use on this beat. You know, listen to the beat, and my principle is always, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't create problems where there aren't any. And don't do things just because people tell you to do it. You know what I mean? Like, find a purpose in your actions and make sure your actions deliver results. What I do normally, I'll listen to 808s, and usually they're already compressed when they come in. A lot of the samples that we're given are already compressed 808s. So sometimes you don't need to do anything to them. Something that you can do to 808s is EQing though. So anything under 20 hertz, you can't really hear, but that headroom is vital for the overall mix. So, you know, I'll try to get away with as much as possible. Some people agree, some people won't, but this is just what I do. I'm going to add another EQ, but this time on the kick drum. I like to boost a little bit of 80 hertz on the kick with a thin bandwidth. And on the same frequency, on the 808, I'm going to cut a little bit. It's going to give it a little bit more definition. Cool, that's already sounding better. On the snare, I'm going to try to just scoop out some of the low end information. I usually save all the low end, anything from 30 hertz, 40 hertz to 150 to 200 hertz for the 808 and the kick. So if there's anything taking up that frequency on the other drums or musical instruments, I like to scoop them out. For that, I'm going to use a high pass filter. That means anything above this frequency is going to pass. I'm just going to set it at 150 just as a guideline. Copy that over to all these other guys. And then we'll adjust them as we go. The clap, I'm going to take out a little bit more to maybe 3. There you go. I'm gonna pan this perk 1 a little bit to the left, and then perk 2 to the right a little bit, or a lot of it, just so there's more spatial information. It makes it a little more interesting. The next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my main loop. There's some low end here that I can take out. That's gonna make the bass come in a little harder. Oops. So, you know, go as far as you can possibly go without losing too much of the body of the sample. I would say about there. That might be the sweet spot. I'm going to use compression to bring up the overall volume. So what I'm doing is compressing this signal, 6 dB based on where the threshold is. This is how much I'm compressing. As you notice, as I go lower, I start compressing more and more, and it starts to feel a little squashed. So I'm gonna back off a little bit and then make up some gain. Now you notice it gets a little bit louder, but overall the volume comes up. Do the same thing, take some of the low end information out, because I don't think it needs to be there. That string is cool as hell. Let's see what it'll sound like loud like that. Kind of like the body that's in there, so I'm gonna leave it alone. I might compress my hi-hats also, just so that they sound a little bit more equal. I try to make up gain as much as I'm taking out. Always try to compare what you just did to it to what it was before by using the bypass button, because sometimes you're going to be going backwards, and if you're doing things just to do them, then that's going to fuck you over at the end. Cool, I like what it's doing, so I'm going to keep that on there. There's a lot of cool tricks with kicks, but it all starts with compression. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan with compression on kicks. There are other things that I like to do to them. Wave smack attack is one. Saturation, Crane Song Phoenix, the Black Box. Those two plugins are something that I use on kicks often. But if I do have to compress, I'm just taking a little bit off the top and making it up. See, that's already too much. Maybe up to like 3 dBs. Slow attack, fast release. The attack speed determines how fast the compressor actually kicks in. If I go really slow, then it's waiting. After it hits this threshold, it's waiting 300 milliseconds for it to start compressing. Conversely, if I set it to 10 milliseconds, then it's going to compress a lot more because it's taking the attack off of it. So I like using a slow attack just because I like the transient to come through. You know, once you start compressing too much, you start losing the bottom low end energy, and all you're left with is a snap. So, you know, just be careful and wary of that. Over compressing certain instruments is going to make it lose its body and lose the presence in a mix. Take about 3 dB out and then give it back 3 dB on the makeup gain. Might be a little too much. Before, after. It's a little more solid, you know? Cool, and all together now, like, I'm gonna just hear what it sounds like with no compression and EQ. And then this is with a little more clarity on the hi-hat, a little more thump on the kick, and a little bit more definition on the 808. This is basically how I'll start my mix with compression and EQ. And these are plugins that come with Pro Tools, so you don't have to, resort to spending hundreds of dollars on things that you don't really need. I would say perfect these plugins, and once you got the money, then upgrade. A couple of the plugins that I really, really like are FabFilter Pro Q3. This is my go-to EQ. This is my most used EQ, just basically on the fact that you can audition certain frequencies, so you know exactly what to cut and what to add. There's all these different shapes of EQ, your peak dip, your low shelf, high pass filter, or low cut filter, and then high shelf. And feel free to experiment with these things. They have trials, so you can try them out for like, I think 30 days without any obligations to buy. There's a lot of features on this guy, and that's something that I would really recommend investing your first couple $100 into. Alright guys, that's it. Those are a couple things that I would do to start my mix. And if you fuck with me, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. This is David with All Up in the Mix. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.